All right, let's get a little more granular here,
Yeah.
as we like to say. Brazil, obviously, everybody knows this. They're in this World Cup group with Cameroon, Switzerland, and Serbia. They open against Serbia and the Vlahovic, Mitrovic, Bash brothers duo. So let's start talking about the defense. What do we think like the defense? We're kind of taking it read that the formation, the basic setup, what he's played most of the time, Luis Miguel, correct me if I'm wrong, has been 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, however you want to look at it. So, all right, goalkeeper, Alisson has the number 1 jersey. I know the City fans are going to come out and like, oh, Ederson is better. Like, yeah, I don't care. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what Tite thinks. Alisson is not in question.
No.
Plus, he's far more handsome than Ederson, and he doesn't have the stupid neck tattoo, yeah?
That's your point of view, yeah. Some might disagree.
Some like genital torture. I don't.
I like Ederson. Ederson looks good, man.
You think Ederson's more handsome than Alisson?
No, I think Ederson.
Okay, that's the only
Ederson's
point I'm saying.
No, I'll give you the difference here. Alisson is who your parents want you to marry. Ederson is the boyfriend with the motorcycle you don't want. So what do you want?
That's a great point. You know what? Honestly,
it is.
I'm pretty sure Ederson is a lot more fun on a night out than Alisson is.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Exactly.
That is very true. All right.
But he does start, Gab. He does start off Ederson every single time. Alisson is the undoubted starter for Brazil.
Okay. So the defense. Luis Miguel, do you want us run us through the back four, and then Jules and I and you will pick apart the pros and cons. So, in terms of right back, we've seen Danilo there. Yeah. We saw them try Eder Militao. Jules still thinks Dani Alves might sneak his way in. If it's tomorrow, who would your money on to be? Who would your money be on to play right back?
I think just given the nature of what, and you're right, it's always a 4 at the back. I think Danilo will probably be, the one ahead. Militao always does a job, but Danilo, Tite has a lot of faith in him, especially when he has the ball. That's definitely going to be the most defensive, vulnerability for Brazil. But I think Danilo will probably be there. And then, Thiago Silva with Marquinhos easily as those two, and then Telles on the other side. It's always going to be a 4. The question mark will be on the right back. Militao can offer you something when you're playing perhaps a Serbia, right, in their group. That could be an issue there. But I think Danilo will probably be the starter for me.
Jules, you're on board with that?
Yeah. I think I agree with Luisito. I think this is going to be the back 4. I'm not too convinced about Alex Telles without the ball and defensively. And we saw him many, many times being either caught off position or half asleep or switching off. And so I'm not saying that Alexandro is a better choice. I'm not saying that there's nobody else that you can put in there. That Danilo,
you have Renan Lodi.
Or Renan Lodi. I think there are options. I'm just not too sold on Alex Telles. And I think the fullbacks positions could be a weakness in a way, whether it's with the ball or without the ball for Brazil, compared to the other position where they're so loaded up with talent. It's incredible. But yeah, apart from that,
Danilo can play left back. But then, of course, you create a problem on the right if you do that. I think it is defensive. But one thing that you brought up as well was, I know you got a deep love for Thiago Silva, as do all men of goodwill in this world. Yeah. However, Thiago Silva in a 3 is a great proposition.
Yeah.
Thiago Silva in a 2 at this stage of his career, maybe not so much. Would it make...
But that's okay, Gab. Yeah, that's all right because Militao's right there. Chichi's not that worried about it. I think.
Sorry, Militao's where? Because they can't play with 12 players. This is what I'm getting to.
No, I'm saying
if you want to go a back 3, I'm wondering, should you maybe consider a back 3? In other words, you have Marquinhos, Thiago, and Militao.
Because I worry about Vinicius Junior's productivity when you do that. I worry about, even Gabriel Jesus when you do that. And
Rafinha's to a certain extent too.
Exactly. And that's where it comes from. Listen, everybody's questioning the defensive vulnerabilities of Brazil. They conceded 5 goals in World Cup qualifier. You think that's easy? That's so difficult. I think that you do begin with the problem of, how do you figure this out when you do it in the knockout stage, when you play the Giants? That's going to be a problem. And that's where the Thiago Silva issue comes in. But at this point, the truth of the matter is that Brazilians' defense is not as bad as people think.
Yeah, no, I think, look, in the end, we nitpick, we find problems and issues with everybody.
Of course. No.
I am curious how he resolves it. One other option, I know he hasn't done it much for Real Madrid, but Eder Militao has played left back before as well.
Yep.
Obviously, you get very defensive there, but in the end, we talked about Thiago Silva with 2 center backs. If you play Danilo and
right back,
right back,
inside.
And you play Eder Militao left back. Effectively, you've got 4 center backs, and
True.
And further up the pitch, you can do what you like.
That's how France won the 2018 World Cup anyway.
Exactly.
So it's clearly
I'm
working.
already seeing I can sense one of us writing these articles like why Brazil are copying France's 2018 formula. Let's move on to the midfield. Fabinho, I'm assuming, is an automatic choice, should be an automatic choice, hasn't played these last couple games. But for me, I'm just giving you I'm not going to question Tite, but if he's fit, I have Fabinho.
You have.
Casemiro. Okay, and Fred, don't laugh, or maybe not Fred. And I know then the third one is Fred or Paqueta, depending on the opposition. But you're shaking your head, you disagree.
I disagree too.
I'm with Jules here. Listen, I just want to remind some folks something. Tite has no issue doing a 4-3-3 where you have the likes of Casemiro in the middle, Lucas Paqueta on the other side, and Neymar Jr. part of that trio as well. And then you just alleviate everything going up front. My midfield is a 3 with Neymar part of it.
Okay, I think you guys are you guys.
But Fabinho is not going to start. Casemiro will be the starter, and then he will either have. No, I agree with you. I just think that it's maybe probably too defensive for Tite and for Brazil, and I can
especially
see
I suppose what you're saying,
two,
because you don't have the fullbacks who are attacking fullbacks, right?
Yeah, and it's two proper holding midfielders. I don't think this Brazil team needs 2. So you pick either Fabinho or Casemiro, but not the 2.
What about the goal-scoring Casemiro we saw at Real Madrid? No? All right. Okay, so you reckon we're going to have one. Your midfield, is Casemiro, Neymar, and Lucas Paqueta, yeah?
Yeah, listen, Lucas Paqueta has earned this, I think, definitely. And I agree with Jules. Ultimately, you can't go with 2. That's way too protective for him. And obviously, this can play around in the group stages. You might see what you're saying, Gab, in the second game. In the first game, I'm seeing Brazil going all out with a 4-3-3, Neymar being in the middle. And that way, you can have a lot more offensive choices going on front.
Okay, here's my thing about the packet. When he plays for West Ham, he has Souček. He's got the twin towers of Souček and Declan Rice behind him, right?
Yeah.
Plus a fairly defensive back 4.
Yeah.
So you're asking him, hey, packet, go from doing that at West Ham, where you're kind of in the Lanzini role. And by the way, David Moyes might change it 101 times since he's changed his team every week, so we don't really know where it's going, right? But you're asking him to move from that into playing what necessarily has to be a deeper lying, more disciplined role. Do you want to mess around with this and put this kind of onus on the packet? Who, let's face it, nice player, but it's still Lucas Paqueta.
He's more physical than you think, I think.
He's played at Lyon with Peter Bosz, who plays panini sticker football. He's not a real coach, right?
I know, but I've seen him against PSG being very strong in that sort of number 8 position. And don't forget, Brazil will have 65 or 70% of the ball every time. Okay, maybe not if they reach a semi-final against one of the big teams, but still, it will be a lot of the ball. So
you raise a really interesting point about possession, Luis. Luis Miguel, I want to get your view on this. Jules says they're going to have 75, 80% possession, whatever, right?
So I said 65 to 70.
65, whatever. Is that the case, and is that good? And the reason I ask this is Vinicius is obviously highly productive up front, playing in a very, very direct way. Richarlison is also a very, very direct player. We don't know if he's going to start or whatever. Rafinha, another very direct player. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know if I'm Tite, I don't know if I don't want to exploit that. If don't want to go vertical more often rather than play this higher possession game. And again, I'm playing higher possession game for the packet. So maybe I want to do it for Vinicius and play something that suits him a little bit more. Am I wrong here?
No, you're not. I mean, listen, I can tell you 2 things. One, Tite is looking back at that Copa America final against Argentina, where possession was, second to nature for Brazilians. What happened in that game? They lost, right? So, Tite's idea of possession doesn't mean anything if there's no end product by the end. And that's what you see in these latest friendlies, right? Granted, they're just friendlies. But to your point, he wants to be more vertical because he also sees the personnel that he has. We're not even talking about Gabriel Jesus right now, who is a player that likes to play that, obviously he's used to the possession base due to Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, of course, Man City before him. But he likes the end product. He likes to finish. The same, of course, you can say with Richarlison and, Anthony as well, who could probably come in and give you 10 minutes. Tite is done with possession. He knows he's going to get it, like Jules said, between 65 and 75%. But you need to see an end product because they've already been bit by the fact that you can keep the ball as much as you want. You better score some goals.
For example, I don't think the first Rafinha goal against Tunisia, which is the Casemiro long ball over the top, and then it's an incredible header and it's a very difficult goal to score. But I think there's a time before where maybe Brazil would have done 15 passes before getting the ball closer to the box to try to find Rafinha or Neymar or Richarlison, someone. I think I expect them to do this a little bit more often, to find the verticality that you were just mentioning, which I don't think before you would ask that so much of Casemiro. It was more like, okay, find the feet of Neymar, find the feet of Paqueta, maybe play wide straight away. This ball was very unlike Brazil, really, and especially to find the header of Rafinha. And yet they did it so well. So I think you're right. I think there's more variety in the game now than there was at the Copa America when they lost to Argentina, and maybe like any previous World Cup before.
Yes, to me, that would be another reason maybe not to have the packet in there. But I'm in the minority here.
You need some tempo.
I recognize
you need
that.
to control the tempo too. You can't just go.
All right, let's go with the front three now. Obviously, Luis Miguel doesn't think Neymar's going to be in the front three because he has him in midfield. But Jules, what's your front three?
I love Gabriel Jesus, and like you, I think he's having already a great season. I think he can be so much value for this squad, even if he doesn't start, but for the physicality, for everything that he brings, the press and the counter press especially, because I think he does it better than Richarlison. But I think the train is gone now. And I know Luis disagrees. I don't think they would call him for the World Cup. And I think it will be Rafinha, Richarlison, Vini, with probably, Pedro coming off the bench being another option on the bench and having other players on the bench like Rodrigo, for example, who can also come and play different positions and variety. But I think for both Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus, I'm afraid I don't think it's good.
So your front three is, just remind me, Vinicius, Richarlison, and Rafinha.
Yeah.
And Neymar in midfield.
And Neymar has a free role that he's been playing for the
And
last
you're also
2
going with the
games.
Echegaray lineup of one proper midfielder and then Paquet and Neymar.
Certainly for the group stage. Then I think if you play a much bigger team like a France or like an Argentina, you might need more solidity in midfield. And in that case, like we saw Vini not starting against Tunisia, for example, and you could easily have Rafinha not starting and play a 4-3-3 with Fred and Casemiro and Neymar, Paqueta and Neymar higher up the pitch.
Luis Miguel, what's your take on Gabriel Jesus? Obviously, you have a clear idea on why he's not here, and you don't think the door is shut on him.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very difficult to argue when you listen to the beautiful French sounds of Jules Laurent. But I think that I just take the words of what Tite said when he announced the roster of these friendlies, and Gabriel Jesus wasn't part of it. And he said, look, this is just my opportunity to give other players a chance. Me thinking, you cannot not take Gabriel Jesus. You can't do it. It would be never mind the work that he's done for Arsenal already. It's already the body of work that he's delivered for Tite. The only thing that I would say from what Jules was saying is that with all this beautiful artistry that Brazil is going to create, you need a big man up front. And I feel like Richarlison will probably start, and then you'll have Vini Jr. on one side and then Rafinha on the other one. So I don't even know if Gabriel Jesus would start, but not taking him at all would be, kind of a big move from Tite. But I do think that Richarlison has earned his right. He's earned it for a while, by the way, because you need that kind of final product at the end, that physical status to do something. So I think it'll be Richarlison one side, Vini Jr. on the other one, and then Rafinha.
Okay, so you guys have the same front three. I'm not super sold on Rafinha in the sense that I don't know if it was right now, yes. I don't know that this is his level or he can keep his level all season long. I still think this is a player who's developing a little bit. But I do think Rafinha and Vinicius, as a pair of wingers, obviously on opposite sides, they really suit this. And Richarlison through the middle. I just think he has more presence. It's not a question of work rates. It's a question of presence. He's got the aerial ability, which Gabriel Jesus doesn't have. I'm sure Gabriel Jesus will be in the squad, I would imagine. But it seems to me that this is the setup that makes sense if the World Cup were to start tomorrow, which, of course, let's remind ourselves, it doesn't. We got another 6 weeks to go, 6 weeks to change.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.